Hallo zusammen! Haven't really done one of these in a while. In this video, I, a German native speaker and a German language teacher here on YouTube, want to talk about a few interesting things that can be found in the first, well, let's say maybe half an hour to 1 hour into the Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PlayStation 4. That could be the choice of words, colloquialisms first and foremost, idioms even, sayings, certain typical German expressions. I'm into maybe 6 or 7 episodes into a let's play of that game. And so far I can only say, being someone who wasn't really familiar with Final Fantasy VII before, I really like the game, first and foremost, and it's flooded with interesting, really cool little linguistic details that are, well, I guess not only linguistically interesting, but also worthy to talk about because they are helpful, like those little words and expressions that Germans use in their everyday lives. You can find quite a few of those in this video game. So let's talk about them.
Auf geht's, Rekrut!
Even if it's just a short expression and seemingly unseeming in a way, decisions like these add so much to the relatability of the material, the modernness and the authenticity. Barrett turns towards Cloud and says, "Auf geht's!" Literally, open it goes. This is a typical example of a German contraction, a direct combination of at least 2 words. In this case, geht's is a contraction consisting of the 2 words geht in the third person singular, Präsens the German present tense, indicative active of gehen, to go, and the personal pronoun es for the third person neuter. Contractions are typical in colloquial and informal German, both spoken and written. In a way, this expression auf geht's is quite idiomatic, meaning that simply knowing the separate words it consists of, well, you might not be able to tell what it really means right away. You usually need a little bit of background knowledge and context to know what a German means when they say auf geht's.
Was zur Hölle?
You might have guessed the meaning of these words already because they are somewhat similar to their English equivalent. What the hell? However, the fixed German phrase was zur Hölle could mean what to the hell, literally. The preposition zur is another very common contraction, which these days gets used in both informal and formal German. It's a combination of the masculine article der and the preposition zu. Zu plus der, zur. Sometimes Germans would also just say was zum as an elliptic construction, again with zum being another contraction, similar to zur.
Läuft doch! Was für ein Kerl!
Läuft doch literally means something like runs after all. It means it works, see? Or in this case, you can do it. See, I told you so. The even shorter expression läuft works is especially common among German teens and young adults whenever something just works without much effort and without a need to be uncertain about it anymore. It just works. Was für ein Kerl literally means what for a guy or man, meaning what a guy, an expression of die Bewunderung, the admiration.
Wie hieß er gleich?
Sein Name ist Cloud's Drive.
Oh.
The interjection or particle is the exact equivalent to the English yet pronounced slightly differently, more like the German umlaut Here, Jesse can't come up with Cloud's name right away, and that's a typical situation to use
Nicht gerade ein Sonnenschein.
Aber dafür ziemlich hübsch.
Nicht das wieder.
Bei so einem Gesicht immer doch.
Und was stimmt mit meinem Gesicht nicht?
Wo soll ich da nur anfangen?
Schon gut, behalt's für dich.
Wenn du mich fragst.
Tu ich aber nicht.
Biggs is talking to Jesse about his opinion on Cloud and his character. Nicht gerade ein Sonnenschein, not really a sunshine, indicating a rather cool, distant aura. Completed, the sentence would start with ist, he is, or even distancing oneself, der ist, that guy is, instead of the personal pronoun
Aber aber dafür ziemlich hübsch.
Jessie replies and continues in this elliptic manner, which is really typical for colloquial talk in general, leaving out or dropping words or even single letters, which we can hear at the end of this phrase right here as well.
Nicht das wieder.
Nicht das wieder, not that again, is a cool example for how a statement like this would get used stressing-wise. Nicht das wieder, not that again, indicating she has said something similar about someone previously.
Bei so einem Gesicht immer doch.
With a face like that, always. Nem would actually be einem, an indefinite masculine article in dative referring to das Gesicht, the face in this case. Rhyme, rhyme.
Und was stimmt mit meinem Gesicht nicht?
Biggs then asks, und was stimmt mit meinem Gesicht nicht? And generally speaking, that's a good example for how Germans stress the endings of questions. What is wrong with my face? Like, it goes upwards, the stressing is up there.
Wo soll ich da nur anfangen?
Where do I even start there? This is a question as well, but actually it could also be seen as a humorous statement replying to the question.
Schon gut, behalt's für dich.
Schon gut, behalt's für dich. Alright, keep it for or to yourself. Schon gut, literally already good, meaning alright, okay, fine, is a typical German phrase as a rather annoyed reaction to not having received a satisfying or expected answer from someone. And you might have guessed it already, behalt's is another contraction. Behalte es, keep it, behalt's.
Wenn du mich fragst.
Jessie then reacts kind of annoyed and also provocative by replying, wenn du mich fragst? Well, if you're asking me, indicating you should expect an answer, an honest answer when you're asking, so, you know,
Tu ich aber nicht.
His response, tu ich aber nicht. I don't though, could also be hab ich aber nicht. I haven't though. You might have noticed that Biggs, respectively the voice actor, has dropped that T at the end of nicht.
Tu ich aber nicht.
Which is highly typical for spoken German in general. And it's really little details like this one, which you might even just perceive subconsciously, which really make this whole thing flow better and, well, make it seem more authentic.
Kuschst wohl immer noch vom alten Herrchen, was?
Still bowing down in front of the old master. What? Meaning, or what? A questioning particle at the end of sentences. The complete form of form is vor dem, in front of plus the, pretty much. And of course, it's another contraction.
Keine krummen Touren.
A good example of an Anglicism in German, which in our language is used as a feminine noun. Die Tour, singular. Die Touren, plural. The adjective krumm, warped or bent, can be a totally neutral term, but in this context it's a negative connotation relating to tour. No devious tours, meaning activities, shady activities, you know, and he's pretty much warning Cloud directly to really follow the rules, to obey the rules.
Was zum?
And well, there we have it. Was zum? You're basically even too surprised to find the right words, or all of them for that matter.
Das wird ein Klacks.
Das wird ein Klacks is a really typical example of a German idiom and a very idiomatic one as well. Again, this means you can't really get the intended meaning just by lining up the meanings of all the separate words in this phrase. The probably most obvious term in this expression is der Klacks, singular, die Klackse, plural, even though, to be honest, I have never heard someone use the plural form for this one at all. It means glob. The phrase translates to that's gonna be a glob, literally meaning that's gonna be a piece of cake, an easy task, an activity that requires no huge effort.
Und weiter geht's.
Yep, it was a Klacks, but for Cloud instead of the guards. Und weiter geht's is a really common expression once you finish a task and you're up to the next one. You would also hear Germans say this without the introducing conjunction und. And.
Ha! Kinderspiel.
Dann haut mal rein.
Jessie seems to operate with technology as well as Cloud knows how to fight, so her response is a more direct yet similar statement. Ha! Kinderspiel. Ha! Children's game, indicating that was a very easy task and not challenging at all. This expression is quite similar to das ist ein Klacks from before.
Dann haut mal rein.
Big sort of reply is dann haut mal rein, which couldn't be more typical German slang. I guess it gets used even more often when you're saying this to a single person, but of course you could also say this to a group. Dann haut mal rein. It's highly idiomatic as well. Literally it means then just punch it, even though the German particle mal is really difficult to translate properly at times. This phrase basically means then go for it, and the focal term is reinhauen, which equals something like dig in, colloquially. This also gets used for basically announcing a dinner or saying feel free to start eating. Hau rein!
Dieses Ungeziefer da auf Ihrem Bildschirm nennt sich Avalanche.
The sentence is not only an example of pretty formal German this time, also indicated by the use of a formal form of address, ihrem, an inflected form for the second person personal pronoun in singular, also possible in plural by the way, your. It also makes use of a really negatively connotated German noun, das Ungeziefer, singular, die Ungeziefer, plural, the vermin or bugs, meaning annoying bugs and the like. By using this word, Heidegger, which by the way might refer to former German phenomenological philosopher Martin Heidegger, was also associated with the Third Reich, basically degrades the whole team to something less than human.
Mann, du denkst wohl, das wäre egal.
Features another typical German particle, Mann, which usually is a normal German noun. Der Mann, singular, die Männer, plural, the man, but it might as well be used as an expression similar to damn at the start of a sentence.
Schnallst du nicht? Was passiert, wenn Shinra so weitermacht wie bisher?
I sort of like this one simply for the sound of it. The first term is also the focal one here, as a conjugated verb relating to the negative adverb nicht, not. It means don't you get? Nicht schnallen, not getting something, and schnallen, to get. These verbs are highly colloquial, but there's actually a neutral, normal German noun, die Schnalle, the buckle or clasp as well.
Kannst du sie denn hören?
Und ab!
Cloud raises a pretty provocative question and Barrett responds by just saying und ob. A short but really poignant phrase, literally and if, which doesn't tell you anything about the intended meaning. This, again, idiomatic phrase is similar to saying you bet in English.
Dir zeig ich's!
After Cloud's direct response, Barrett threatens him verbally by saying, Dir zeig ich's! To you, I'm gonna show it! Literally speaking. You could also use it the other way around as well. Ich zeig's dir! I'm gonna show you! But it wouldn't have the same semantic impact you get by mentioning the second person singular dative personal pronoun dir, to you at the start, which also gets stressed. Dir zeig ich's! This one definitely is my favorite pun in the game so far because it's just cool. I mean, people might say, okay, it's kind of stupid in a way, like really direct, but I really like that when people do something like that. Really cool choice to play with those meanings and words and stuff. And here is why. Das erledige ich im Armumdrehen means that I'm gonna finish or solve by revolving or turning my arm around. For das Armumdrehen sort of being a nominalized mixture of a noun, der Arm, the arm, and a verb, umdrehen, to turn or turning, so by arm turning or arm revolving would be a literal translation. Of course, it's really specifically related to Barrett's revolving shooting arm prosthesis, but it's actually a wordplay which relates to a well-known German existing saying. Das erledige or mache ich im Handumdrehen, that I'm gonna finish or do in hand turning or by hand revolving, by hand turning. In my opinion, a really cool play with words and a contextual background of German linguistics here, and this is one of the many reasons why I personally really enjoy the German version of this game so far.
Okay, ich gehe zuerst. Ich stehe einfach auf den Nervenkitzel.
Apart from a good example where we Germans also commonly use okay, the second sentence contains the verbal phrase steh auf which refers to the infinite form auf etwas or jemanden stehen, to stand on something or someone, literally speaking. It actually is a colloquial phrase which means to be erotically or sexually interested in something or someone. The very last term, der Nervenkitzel, is a cool German compound word consisting of die Nerven, in plural, the nerves, and a form of the verb kitzeln, to tickle. So what Jessie really loves gives her a kick, it's quite nerves tickling.
Diese Maschinen sind Auslöscher. Wenn die dich erwischen, ist der Name Programm.
The last part, after the comma, is pretty special linguistically speaking. It can be linked to many other preceding phrases. Der Name ist Programm. The name is the program, or, set list, the menu. And since their name is der Auslöscher, singular, die Auslöscher, plural, the extinguisher or annihilator, you know what's gonna happen to you when you're too careless.
Gänsehaut.
Ich glaube, ich krieg ne Gänsehaut. I think I'm getting a goose skin, literally speaking, meaning I'm getting goosebumps. Barrett seems to be really into it and feel, the adrenaline and stuff. In a pretty dry and direct way, Cloud replies, Vor Angst oder was? Out of fear or what? Barrett then replies, Nee, vor Freude. And by doing so, he uses another really typical and popular German colloquial interjection. Nee is a slang form of nein, no. Germans pretty much use it all the time. It's pretty much the most common colloquial variant of nein, next to nö.
Junge, ganz schön tief. Na, zum Glück bin ich ja schwindelfrei.
The introducing repetition, Junge, could also be just one Junge, boy. It's actually really similar to saying oh boy at the beginning of colloquial sentences in English. You are surprised, impressed, intimidated, or just overwhelmed by the dimensions of the really, the difficulty of a room, the complexity.
Na, zum Glück bin ich ja schwindelfrei.
Na, zum Glück bin ich ja schwindelfrei. Begins with an introducing particle na. Basically an exclamation similar to well at the start of sentences. Well, luckily I'm indeed free from giddiness.
Dann halt's Maul und mach!
The phrase Halt's Maul is pretty vulgar and negative since it means keep your mouth, of course implying keep your mouth shut, for das Maul, singular, die Mäuler, plural, being a term that's commonly and usually used for mouths of animals, but when you use it referring to a human being, it's seen as something negative and impolite. Pass auf! Cloud warns Barrett, pass auf, and he basically says, like in a humorous, annoyed way, och nö, which couldn't be any more typically colloquial German in a way. Pass auf means look or watch out. As an imperative verbal phrase, it's related to the verb aufpassen, to pay attention, to look out for something. And who would have thought Barrett can also be fair and verbally acknowledging a good attack by Cloud with the term haha, sauber. Sauber exists as a totally ordinary German adjective, clean, tidy or neat. In this slang context, it also gets used as a positive expression, basically as das Lob, singular, die Lobe, plural, the praise or accolade. Nimm dich in Acht, take you in 8, which you could, think of literally when you know the term 8, acht in German, but it rather refers to auf etwas achten, to pay attention to something, to take care of something.
Hast was gut.
Hast was gut is the German equivalent to saying I owe you one in English. There's also a common, slightly longer version, du hast was gut bei mir. And what's interesting is that the perspective is different in both versions. Pretty difficult to hear, but Barrett says, hast du mich erschreckt? Literally, have you terrified me? And the stressing, the intonation is really important here as well. It really expresses a higher level or quality of surprise and shock, most definitely, than just saying, du hast mich erschreckt.
Jetzt mach schon, mach schon, mach schon!
Mach schon would be a third version of saying mach. This one features the adverb schon, already. Do it already.
Wow, das war cool.
Wow, that was cool. And apart from being a good example for Anglicisms in German, I hope you think the same about this video and my videos in general. You like them. And you enjoyed this one as well, because I certainly did making it. If you did, feel free to let me know by leaving a like, by sharing my video with others. That is really appreciated and really helps the channel. So thanks for doing that in advance. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.